What's up, Joey? How you doing?
Hey, that means a lot. Appreciate it. Going good, man. Good to see you guys again.
Well, it's the truth. When we'd go to Extreme Couture, you'd always go out of your way, say hello, how you doing? Not just the head nod, how and it seemed genuine. And then you'd step on the other side of that cage and go hard against anybody up until 155 pounds. You'd put on a show, man. And you did it whether it was in practice or in your fights. And that's why you've had the outstanding career that you've had.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm lucky, I feel fortunate for it, for sure. And to meet great people that, I want to go and talk to between practices and in between, fights and backstage and stuff. Like, that's all great. So I don't know. That's how I look at it. I don't know. I think everything's like I said, I'm just like fortunate for this life. I don't know how it happened or how it happened to me. Like, I obviously worked hard and stuff, but that's not necessarily like a recipe to like do good. Like, a lot of people work hard. So just feel fortunate. And then, like I said, fortunate just to meet the people that, I was able to along the way also.
So you retired
Yeah.
basically a while back, but it's only become public in the last week. And
Yeah. Yeah.
was it kind of a relief to make it public, even though you really weren't seeking the attention, but at least kind of maybe dotting the I or crossing the T or putting a period on the sentence, whatever you want to use?
Yeah. There was actually quite a few, really positives that came from it. Like, so I kind of knew I wasn't going to fight again after my last fight. And even going into my last fight, I was kind of like, I kind of just want to like, I'm not going to go for the title again. That's kind of why I do this, but I don't want to fight. I don't want to like look, like for me, some people fight, to get in the top 10, their whole career. And when they do, that's like like I could fight in the top 10 for years to come, but like my last title shot was my last one. That's kind of what I've been doing. And after my last fight, I was kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to at least go out on top. If it's not for the title, I want to fight the next highest ranked guy in Ascar. Nothing goes as planned in this sport or in life, and didn't come out on top of that one. But even before that, I just kind of knew that might be my last fight. So yeah, it took a while for me to come around to it. Like, obviously, I don't want to just get out of the fight and say, hey, I'm done fighting, because you never really know, maybe a month or two stick around and you start training and having fun and you're like, all right, well, I can still do this like for a job, because it's fun. But I never wanted to do it as a job. So that was kind of my issue. When it came down to it, I felt like, you know what, like, it's not that fun. Like, I don't miss training, to tell you the truth. And I would literally be doing it for a job, like going in to get money. And this isn't necessarily something you like play around with, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't go risk really like your health and like getting punched in the head and injured and stuff, like, just for that. So, like I said, I kind of knew that. I didn't want to announce it, but one day I was sitting here and, I'd been just kind of sitting around for a long time, pretty idle. And I'm just like, well, the only really way to get this, squared away and make it official is to do it. So it actually is funny. Like, you have to make a call and say, hey, I want out of the USADA pool. And then through that, people see you taken out of the rankings, they start talking. And in a way, like, the last months, that was kind of what I was dreading, is like, I don't really like want like the attention and everything to happen. Like, I just, you guys know me, like, I just want to do it different, I guess, which I guess I'm not really allowed to do that since I fought, for 15 years. And but I was just like, I just don't want to fight anymore. I just want to do something else. And then, I don't fight anymore. And then whenever that is, it'll be like I'm doing something else. I don't have to say I'm not fighting anymore. But like I said, you have to make it official. It's come out. And to answer your question, sorry, I have a lot to say about everything, I guess.
It's okay. We got time if you do.
Yeah, but like the positive, there was actually, like, it wasn't weighing on my back, but it was a relief off my mind to kind of move on. Like, oh, like, you have a ton of things like you want to do. Well, like, you know what? Now you can do them because you're actually done. Like, move on. You can do it. Like, even people's perspective on me not being a fighter anymore, they reach out. Oh, well, now it's your done. Like, all I carry perspective, you know, that a lot of people that is of value to a lot of things and people, you know what I mean? So now they can reach out, even just like doing an interview with you and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, you got to kind of do that. And then to tell you the truth, the stuff I kind of like, I don't know, like I'm not really good with and almost dread the most has actually been the greatest, like most emotional thing. Like basically, I don't know how to say it for like lack of better words, like the praise and like just complimentary comments and everything that have been coming in. Like I never thought I'd get emotional with any of this because I was very like frank with like I'm just gonna let it go and move on. But once like everything started coming in and people started being so nice and you know, I kind of had a second to stop and be proud of what I've done and kind of read like what I've done because you don't really think about what you've done while you're doing it because you know your next fight's always your best fight and your next next day is always the best day and you just keep moving forward and moving forward. And I think that's why I had the longevity because I always believed in that. But to sit and stop and hear people write stuff and say stuff and comment stuff, like that was actually the best, most emotional part. And, you know, and it made me proud at the end of the day of everything I've done. So that it was actually nice to get it off my chest and to hear, I guess, what everyone thinks about.
Did you have a favorite or one that maybe out of the blue came from, you know, a comment that a tribute or something that somebody said to you, you know, since learning about your retirement that was special to you?
Well, my wife's was great. You know, that makes me cry because like it's most important to like be most important to her and just like see her, you know, love the most, like me be the best to her. Like that's obviously great. But I mean, every comment actually means a lot. Like I literally wish I could get to every single comment and talk to him and like tell him thank you. But it was just great. Like, you know, I saw Mighty Mouse on your show. He said something um, like I thought that was really nice. There was a few other ones that like really stood out, but like I don't know, just like the first thing ever, like for me, like the first person that reached out, I guess was first to it was like Mark Ramondi from ESPN. And you know, he drops a story, he like gets a few quotes from me and like the story's out. And just talking to him and reading that and knowing the story's going to come out like on ESPN, it was honestly just like overwhelming to me. And then it all just kind of like continued to roll from there as far as like everything, because I was sitting in my backyard in Vegas, like with my dog, and I got a good life, a beautiful wife, and everything like that. And then I just kind of thought like, you know, I took off in my car from Las Cruces, New Mexico 15 years ago. And like 15 years later, like I set off to do something. And 15 years later, like ESPN, like the ESPN is talking to me about what I set out to achieve and what I did achieve. And that was just like, it was just like, I don't know, it felt like so big for me. Like it's crazy. Like that kid taking off 15 years ago and like his Lincoln Continental with Birkenstocks, listen to a Sade tape, um, just like clueless about life. Like little did he know what he was setting out to do was going to be like, you know, heralded in an article by ESPN 15 years later. And he was going to read it from his house in Vegas with like the best wife and dog and like a nice life. And it was just like, from there, every little comments I felt fortunate for, you know, like every person reaching out to me, like people that I would never know or talk to would never know me or talk to me, complimenting, like every little compliment, like I said, I felt fortunate for after that.
So not even because a CD player was actually a cassette tape in that Lincoln Continental.
Yeah, yeah, it was 86 Continental, yeah.
Wow, old
It was
school
sick.
there. I love it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that, you know, and you were the young guy that was looking for Uriah Faber. You know, for those that don't know, you went looking and think after a week you just didn't cross paths.
Yeah.
And then by chance, I think there was a flight reschedule or something like that. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden 11th hour, you meet up with Faber and it's on, you know, it's on after that. That's an incredible story. But you know what? The one I was really, really proud of, Joseph. One time you came to the studio, and we just said, "How you doing?" And then all of a sudden, you shared about your story of getting past a demon that you had, and that was alcohol. And we spent about 15, 20 minutes, and that was the first time you had ever shared it, you know?
I think so, yeah.
And well, yeah, at least that I had remembered, because I
with
watched
you guys in public, I actually remember that clearly. That was one of the first times I'd talk about my past of like addiction and stuff.
So
And
whether
like
it's been,
jail and everything. That was the first time I talked with you guys. It felt comfortable, you know. You guys were doing your job, obviously.
That's why I've always admired you. Whether it's been even the stuff outside the cage is just as impressive, you know, because that's something else, man. You know, and think about whoever listened to that, to that show was probably inspired, you know, because you were the story of a young man that chased after his dreams and nothing was going to stop you. And I thought that was outstanding. And then to take it to the heights that you did is incredible. I mean, I'm probably like maybe almost 20 years older than you, and I was inspired. You did something that I would have wanted to have the courage to do or whatever. So that was awesome. But I know that it's the youth that trails us. Those are the ones that we set we do the trailblazing for, you know. And I know you've done that. You've touched a lot of people, man, along this journey, inside and outside the octagon, and that has to be respected, commended, and talked about.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's huge. Like thinking about like that phase is like, I kind of think like I would be just so fortunate that could stop like using drugs and alcohol, like where a lot of people can't. Like I'm lucky just in that regard that like that was able to work out for me, and I was able to put another life behind me. So everything else was just, you know, it was all just like I said, like I just felt grateful for every day, you know. So, you know, it's crazy. Like I remember even when um you know, going before titles and people saying it was a culmination of this and a culmination of that. And I was just kind of like, well, it's actually a culmination of a decision I made, you know, before I even started fighting, before I even knew anything or anyone in fighting, you know, before I even had a thought about it, which was that decision um, to become sober and stop drugs and alcohol. So, yeah, it's great. And then since then, like talking about the youth, like that's been great. Like the generations to come, like actually those were like great comments to come in from my peers, like not just peers of the UFC, which is always great. Like I'm so inspired by my peers like all the time. And, you know, a lot of them don't know it, but I would just wanted to say like, I put that in my message. Like so many of my peers inspired me. Some I'm lucky to call friends. Some I've just seen from a distance and been inspired for. Like Carlos Condit, who also just retired. Like that guy's the greatest. We're both from New Mexico. You know, he was a champ in the WC when I was in the WC. And like he set the bar for New Mexico. He like set the bar for like beautiful violence for all of us. And I just feel like we all just tried to like reach that, you know, and never quite got there like he did. So like that's another guy. But yeah, like I was saying, like that I could kind of look up to inspiration, but like all the people that tell me that is like great. Like the flyweights that have been reaching out, you know, even from Demetrius to everyone, like that's actually been some of the best stuff. Like you know, Jeff Molina, Brandon Royval, you know, obviously
Brandon Royval, I saw that one. That was awesome.
Obviously like Timothy Elliott, Tim Elliott and Brandon Moreno. I don't know why I said Timothy, but just proper. But like even Tim Elliott and Brandon, like those are guys I already have a relationship with. But to see other guys that I'm a little more disconnected for that would still like reach out, like that means a lot to me, because like I always thought of something that was really like inspiring to me when I was like when the flyweights were gonna shut down, and now I see guys and it's going great and everything's going good, and I feel there's gonna be like generations to come. Is like I just see people like me, basically like small guys that can fight, you know, that are wild and maybe weird or whatever. But it's like the fact that they can make a living as a professional athlete like makes me so happy. Like I remember I woke up one day, like it was during the time when like the flyweights were going to you know, like we were kind of on the cusp of like being whatever, like cut. And I just thought, like, I woke up and I was like, man, like, I live a good life. Like, it would break my heart to know that, like, there can never be another me, like, not exactly me, but you know what I mean? Like, there can never be another guy like me, like, to make a good life doing this. Like, it was so sad to me. And, now there's a whole generation of, like, strange little men, like, coming up that can make a good life and get bonuses and provide for their families and live a good life doing this. So, like, that just means a lot, also to me.
Joseph, I'll jump into my line of questioning, but before I do that,
Oh, yeah.
I have a proposition for you.
Okay.
Okay. If I hear the Spice Girls, I automatically think of bacon. And if I see a pizza or anything, I think of you.
Okay.
Now, on the calendar, there's National Hot Dog Day. I think yesterday was like National Pizza Day, right?
Was it? I feel like they just make these things up.
Something like that, yeah.
They do.
But
I guess they had to, yeah.
I guess what I'm getting at is you can retire from MMA, but you can't retire from us. So here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Today is September 21st. I say we make that National Joby One Kenobi Day, and every year, you come on this show, do an interview with us. Because you can't retire from us. Deal?
On September 21st?
September 21st, no matter what's going on, you got to do an interview with us every year.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah?
That sounds like the greatest thing ever. I would love that.
All right. We just want to make sure we still keep, we've always loved having you being a part of the show. It's a tradition.
Dude,
and
I
we want
love
to
you
make sure it
guys,
keeps
honestly.
going.
I love you guys. Like, talking about when I first came out with stuff on your guys' show and just everything. It's always just been great through the years. Like, I love the media, but you guys especially, like, I just feel lucky that, I've been able to meet people through it as well. So appreciate you guys, and like I'm down with this proposition. I like it a lot. I think that could be really fun, because God knows what I'm gonna be doing in 5 years. So I'm ready though.
It's when we sit down, we break down things that we think you can do, and there's so many things that I think you could be successful at.
Yeah.
But I still feel like you're leaving a little bit of a legacy within mixed martial arts. A name you brought up, Brandon Moreno. This is a guy that you helped coach, and you get to watch him now blossom and do a lot of good things. Do you feel that feeling of leaving your mark within mixed martial arts? I know that can probably be one, but is there another mark you could say that you left on this sport that you're very proud of?
Well, I mean, I never like think about it as myself, like kind of like I was saying earlier, like you don't think about really what you're doing, you're just kind of doing it. And like, that is, I think, the reason people are successful is they don't sit there and like, I don't know, dance to their own music or something like that. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? They don't sit there and like watch their work and like praise it. They're just kind of like, all right, well, the next thing's going to be like the best thing. Like, so just keep going. Like, that wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, you just have a short memory. If it's winning or losing, you just kind of like, you keep going, and then you have a chance to look back on it after. So, for me, this is, I was aware, obviously, like I was the first flyweight around, and I was there to the end, title shots and title shots later. Like, I saw people come and I saw people go, and I was still there. But then when I think, oh, like still there, I was like literally the first one, like helping build this. So it's not necessarily things that I can look back and say, oh, I like left this huge mark. It's, I read about it, and that is almost better, because, I don't know, like, you can think one thing of yourself or whatever, and like, yes, that is obviously important, but with stuff like this, as far as like legacy and everything goes, like, that totally has to do with other people. Like, legacy never meant that much to me, because it's like, it's going to be what it is. Like, whatever I did, and now that it's done, like, that's my legacy. What people think about it, I can't care about. Like, if you don't care what people care about negatively, you can't really care positively either. It just has to be what it is. So yeah, to answer your question, like, yeah, I look back and I see people saying, oh, he's a pioneer for the small guys. Like, that means, like a huge thing, not only for that, but for the flyweights as well. And, you know, I think stuff like that is pretty meaningful. You know, like I just explained, like when I look at kind of what I did, like it makes me so happy to see people like me that are able to like live a good life. Because I told you, like I woke up one morning and I was like, when the flyweights were maybe going to be gone, and like I was legit like sad that like there could never be like another like small Mexican dude that could fight, like make a living fighting, because the UFC wasn't going to be around for 25ers anymore. And now that they just can, and you know, like I like to think I had something to do with it, a lot to do with that. You know, that means a lot to me, you know, being a pioneer of that. And then I think I think about the 25 pounders a lot, but I think small guys in general, like there was a group of people that like made the small guys cool and made people watch them. And I like to think I was part of that as well. You know, when the WC came around, that was the first time people started seeing, you know, 35, 45-pound fighters. And, you know, all my fights in there were rocking, some of my favorite fights ever. And, you know, that got people to tune in, eventually got us to the UFC, to what it is now. So, like, I just think for the other weight class in general, too, what I've done, that's great. So, like, the 2 weight class thing I look at and I'm very proud of as well, is being able to compete at a high level in 2 weight classes for so long. There's a lot of things, but, you know, some of the best things is like I said, like my wife thinks I'm great. And so when people that I think are great, like you guys, like look at me more than a fighter, like as a great person, like that stuff means a lot. You know, like I see a lot of the comments after saying great fighter, but like great person. And I'm like, that coming from a great person that I respect, like all that stuff means a lot, you know, or people saying, oh, he treated me like this or like that sounds really good. Because, you know, fighting was my job. That was what I was supposed to do. Like I'm supposed to be good at it, right? If I got all the way to the UFC. So I don't know, just some of those other little things that are very meaningful too, especially coming from people that like are meaningful to me.
You know, Joseph, I wanted to add one thing real fast, and then we'll send it back to Goes. I hope that you realize that a lot of us also thank you for not giving up on 25. And here's what I mean by that. You went 15-2 as a bantamweight. You beat up a lot of former champions. You could have basically said, this isn't my weight class. And you know how you're showing concern for, like, if this is a dangerous sport, you also don't want to go out there and just have fun and cash a check because it's dangerous. And think about what you did for 17 fights. You fought out of your weight class against great fighters, and you beat a lot of them. And so you did it knowing that there was a 125 division out there somewhere, like Tachi Palace, Shudo, and it wasn't in the UFC yet, but you and DJ together hung in there, you know, along with a few of the other guys, hung in there until it did come. So not only did you build it, you kind of held you held on to it, you know what I mean? Because again, a lot of fighters could say, this isn't my weight class, this isn't safe, I may just have to bow out sooner than later. But instead, he persevered, made one hell of a career as a bantamweight. 50-2 is tons of respect, and the names that you beat there, you know, again, former champions.
Yeah,
so
those 2 losses, I believe, were only to Cruz also.
And you waiting for the right opportunity to come, you know, that's another thing that I hope people realize. That took a lot of courage. That took a lot of patience. You know, a lot of resolve for, I guess, you know, fighters that you were playing outside of your realm, you know. And so finally, when the right weight class came, what'd you do? You hit that one out of the park as well. So it's like 2 different careers, but a lot of sacrifices. I just want to recognize that.
Thank you. That means a lot. And like looking at that, like obviously we have to give DJ credit too. Like I 100% feel like we built that together. But I think the main reason for the 125-pound weight class to be made was that we were competing at a high level with 35 pounders. Yeah. Like if me and DJ were just like top 15 guys, or like out of the top 15, like we could just kind of be like other bantamweights that happen to be small. But the fact I go and to a split decision with the champion and beat a ton of others where it's not my natural weight class, and DJ's doing the same, makes it to a world title fight in a weight class that's not his. That shows like, oh, if these guys can compete with them, they need their own weight class because there's only more and more of these behind them. You know what I mean? So I think it made a big difference that me and DJ were fortunately, I guess, could fight so good that we could compete with the higher weight class, because it wouldn't have mattered if we were undersized guys. If we were undersized bantamweights, like in the top 20, we would just be like undersized bantamweights. But the fact we were, 25 pounders fighting at the top, I think that made all the difference in the world.
Joseph, the Hall of Fame is happening this Thursday, and you're a name that we brought up talking about Hall of Fame. We feel like eventually you will be in there. And in the NFL and in other sports, when a player plays on a couple different teams, they give you the option of what you want to retire, what jersey you'd like to retire with. For you, the day that you go up there, is a little piece of you going to maybe be wearing these gloves? I think this is kind of something that has meant a lot to you. It's meant a lot to a lot of people. Your run at WEC, like you said, man, I think it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it's tough, because there was no 25 in the UFC or in the WEC, but I feel like 25 is how people are going to think of me and kind of where I made like my mark. But a lot of that is because, they just weren't aware of these earlier days in the WEC. So, yeah, of course, like those days are like incredibly special to me, to watch those. Like, I hope everybody goes back and, it's like, when someone dies and like, you're like, oh, I never really like cared about them, but I guess I'll listen to all their music. Like, if they do that when people retire, like watch my WEC fights. Cause like, those are some of my favorite. I was even just telling my wife today, I was like, you know what fight no one talks about that's maybe one of my favorite fights is like Jeff Curran, because that was my second fight in the WEC. And I feel like before that, I was supposed to beat everybody. Like I was just doing my job. Like that was the first fight where like, oh, I made it. Like I'm fighting a guy like I used to watch and he's supposed to beat me. He has 40 fights and like I beat him. But all those fights were great. So, I mean, it's really hard. You go up there, like, I guess if we're talking about gloves, like I would wear one on each hand, a UFC and a WEC, but it's kind of like, flyweight also means a lot to me because that was a whole new thing. Like 35 at the end of the day was around before I came, and I think that would have got built, well, Faber was at 45 at the time, but 35 was a weight class I came into. 25 is a weight class like came into, like I built that weight class, I mean, with others, but like I was the first title fight in that weight class, first win, first knockout, everything of that. So like I was there since the resurrection of it. Does that make sense?
Inception?
Yeah, inception of the weight class, where 35 was, I think I was a big part, and just small guys in general when you want to get it down to that. But 25 is kind of like, I don't know. I'm just a big fan of that, and that was more UFC, but I'd wear a WC and a UFC glove.
Well, Michael Jordan, when he was a Bull, he used to wear his North Carolina Tar Heels shorts underneath his Bull shorts. So maybe just when you have the nice fancy suit, because I know you got style, maybe you can wear a WEC shirt underneath. Speaking of style, I mean, I know that I think to myself, what's Joseph going to do next? Obviously, a well-deserved vacation. You guys love to travel, you and your wife. Podcasting, you've dipped your toe into that. Fashion, you've dipped your toe into that. But is there something that's leading the charge in terms of what you think you want to do? And is it related to MMA at all? Or is MMA like a hard pivot? Like you're going to maybe just not do anything with MMA?
I would like it to be a hard pivot because, like, for me, like, I've already kind of lived two lives. So, like, going into this, I was like, well, might as well live a third and just, like, do something totally different. But at the same time, like, MMA has been such a huge part of my life. Like, it's not going to let me go, and I'm not really going to let it go. So I don't know how I'm really going to operate within it. And I know it's probably not going to be like in the center, like, or like in the typical ways that I think, you would think of an ex-fighter, just coaching or even commentary or something like that. Which,
Mhm.
I mean, that interests me. That would be fine, and that would be fun as well. But I don't know. I just think there's some other things to do that maybe haven't been thought of from an ex-fighter's perspective yet. So I think maybe, like I said, like a little more like internally on the cusp of some other things, not just like a direct like coaching analyst kind of thing. But I think with my perspective on the sport and maybe perspective on other things, I think there's some other things I can do for the sport besides like the direct things you see right before your eyes. So, I'll be working on some of that stuff. Like, I think the thing for me is I have so many interests that it's hard to narrow them down. Like, I actually just had to like write everything out that I want to do today to see like what of it actually looks like feasible and like I want to do and that is like worth doing and all of that kind of stuff. Just because, like I said, like I have too many things I like my wife makes fun of me because it's like I have a new obsession like every month. Oh, you love that? That's like you know what I mean? But because I get obsessed with stuff. So literally today, like I said, I wrote stuff down. And I was kind of like, all right, well, this I can kind of like do. This is gonna take a work. Oh, maybe this isn't something I quite want to take on like just yet, but like it's in the back burner. And I think at the end of the day, like I just feel very fortunate that I can find something I love and find a passion and I'm not pressured in. Thankfully I had a great career and, I try to be smart with my money. Another also thankfully for like no pressures, like I have like a boss for a wife, so she could be my sugar mama and that'd be fine also. But, like I don't have the pressure of somebody that's usually maybe retiring from this sport and just going, oh shoot, let me go coach, let me go do some privates, let me go do some seminars. I am fortunate enough to have the time that like I can find something I love to do. I can find something I want to be happy with. And, when me and my wife talk, like that's kind of what it is like just find something you want to be happy with. Like I didn't get my brains beat out for 15 years to just like have to go do something else really hard. Like I did it to kind of find something else I love. So yeah, just in the process of finding that. But like I said, I'm lucky that it gets to be something I love and I don't really have the pressure just to retire and have to go straight to work.
Well, take your time with it,
Yes.
and word obsession, thrive on it because
Yes.
it was that obsession that got you to where you were. Just remember, you're in the history books of this sport, not just as a trailblazer, but because of your performance inside the cage of the WEC and the octagon of the UFC. You are in the history books. No one can take that away from you. You know what I mean? And people aren't just saying that because they're your pals or your peers. You deserved that adjective that's being thrown around, legend. You did something that was outstanding. If you think about it, at your weight class, there's 7 million of us, and you are one of the top ass kickers on this planet. In that, or even if we want to say the lower weight classes, you were in a group there of the top ass kickers that walked this planet. And that's something that's just outstanding when you can, hold your head up like that and know that you were one of the best at something. So now you're playing with house money, to borrow a Vegas term. We both live in Vegas.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just having fun. You know what I mean? Having fun, enjoying life. But you've already had an outstanding career. So think it through and keep writing, keep adding to the list. Draw some lines through some stuff, add some stuff, and then when the time comes, just know that you have it in you. It's in your fibers to be great at your next move.
Yep, that's what it is. And to me, it's all about passion. And thankfully, I have a supportive wife that's like, just do something that makes you happy. Like, don't worry about like doing this right now. And for me, that's how I operate anyway. Like, I found fighting through passion. Like, I was paying to fight. It was just the hobby, at first. And, and that's what happened. And then I just kind of started following it. Like I watched a video on of a young Kanye West the other day talking about how he used to make like he's a main producer, but he was making, there was a time when he made weak beats, but now he was the best beat maker. And he's like, people say my rapping's not good, but I'm focusing on that. I used to like not be good at this either, but like now I'm focusing on it. So that was actually really inspiring, because when you see him and now he's literally just like a cultural god, like it was amazing. Like I'm just like very inspired by things like that. Speaking of obsessions, like music and then like movies, like when you said the obsession quote, I thought of Martin Scorsese, who said, your job is to make people care about your obsessions. And I feel like that's my life. Like I just force everything I like on people, and like that's what I want to do. So, I'll find a way to do that, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, notice nobody ever says, stop forcing your obsessions on me. People go with it. People like you. And like I said, it's been an honor covering your career, man.
Dude, it's been the best. Thank you guys. Like it's crazy. Like I just feel so lucky, like little fortunate things. Like, we could have been in different eras of MMA or anything, but, I get to do this interview with you and many before that, and like, I just feel super fortunate. Like I got to, and I met you guys through it, and had, incredible media members like you that care and do their job correctly, and that, I got along with so well. So, and I always enjoyed my interviews with you. It never felt like work. It felt like we were hanging out. So yeah, thank you guys for that.
Well, we know that at least we'll be talking to you on September 21st. So the subsequent
years. That's fun. Yeah.
But I know we'll run into each other, and obviously it'll be great to share a drink of iced tea or Coke, and or just have a good chat, So our best to you and your wife, and thank you so much for your time today. Excuse me.
Thank you. Love you guys. I appreciate it. Love everyone listening. Thank you.